everyone. Welcome to the latest Impact of AI Explored. We are here live at EUC Forum in London, and we have brought back Brian Madden in person this time instead of remotely.
Hello.
Hey, Brian, how are you doing?
I live in Paris now, so I'm not jet lagged.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. I'm just recovering because I just got back from Ignite. So, how are you, Gerjon?
Great, excited to be here and looking forward to talking to you in live, Brian. The last time we spoke digitally. That was fun. It was a really good episode. So, and this episode should be even more fun.
Yeah, we have 6 more months of experience in AI.
And in AI, that's a lifetime.
Yeah, it is.
It is. Yeah. You'll see in our presentation later. We did a tweet from like one day, and it was like 10 announcements just from 10 different companies. It's insane, the rate of change. So yeah, we wanted to kind of, this is the last episode of 2024. We'll be back in 2025.
Yeah.
But what we wanted to talk about is like where we're at. And actually, I wanted to talk more about what you were talking about in your session earlier on about AI agents, because it seems like 2025 is going to be all about AI agents and how, and for me, that's when things get interesting. It's not passive anymore. It's like they're doing things, they're interacting, and it takes it to the next level and closer to Skynet in some ways, but not quite, nowhere near it. But it just, I suppose, it takes it for, we've had chat, we've had voice, whereas now they're going to be doing actions. And I think we talked previously about how we still need that human interaction, but we are giving more control away. So you just laid it out about, which I think was really interesting, about how, we've always talked about Windows desktops and that they will become obsolete and blah, blah, blah. But you actually think that you laid out a whole thesis about Windows desktops and their importance with AI agents. Do you want to lay that out?
Yeah, certainly. And it's great show, guys, by the way. I'd love to be like second time guest now. This is awesome.
You're our most featured guest.
Super. Yeah, like the AI agents, to your point, I mean, that's just all the news. We're recording this in November of 24, and it seems like every company is talking about, like AI that can take actions on your behalf. And I think the easy way to think about this is just like little examples. Like there's a lot of things where, I'm like, I don't know, I'm going to order Five Guys burgers via DoorDash. I get the same thing always. Like, I want to be, hey, S. I'm not going to say it out loud because our phones are going to wake up. But like, hey, assistant, like, give me 2 burgers from Five Guys. And like, any kind of reasonably smart AI that like knows me and like looks at my order history in my computer, and like it ought to be able to like do that on my behalf, like somehow. Yeah. And I don't know how that works exactly. Like, is it, some people are talking about like the AI agents like run in the cloud sort of, and they can like talk to DoorDash API and like figure out, or like talking about, I don't know, like these agents can start to do things, and there's no real architecture defined for this. It's just like the AIs can take action on your behalf. And I kind of feel like, I start thinking about that as a concept for like work, because to me, all the AI stuff I do is about like in the office and the enterprise, and I'm thinking from like the EUC lens. Yeah. And so I'm thinking, well, okay, how do we do that at work? And so, like every job, there's every human job, there's probably like 200 little tasks you do. Like if you actually wrote down every little thing you do, and they're all different. Some like require your brain, and some of them don't. Like expense reports is just like, go through, find receipts, put them in here, put them in like, and like an AI agent should be able to do my expense reports.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, the low hanging fruit, right?
God, that would be so good. Yeah.
But I think about like, it's not going to be like the easiest way to do my expense report though for real is not like Expensify.ai, because then it's like, well, it needs access to all my things. Like, like I need my Windows desktop to do my expense report, because it's like, I have my photo library with a receipt. It's my calendar to see I was at this thing. It's my, like, I have to go to the credit card, download the statement, like start to match. Like, how do you do it? You find the expense and you like search your email box for that expense. Like, fingers crossed you have a receipt, and then you search your photos for it. So like AI can do that, but it's like, I feel like the AI agent to really do that properly needs to do it at on my desktop. Like it actually needs to take control of my mouse and keyboard because it needs my photos, my email, like my Amex account. Like it needs all these things.
Yeah.
For me.
So what you're kind of talking about is the kind of example we've seen at the moment is Anthropic's computer use, which that's a very early stage use case of what you were talking about, essentially.
Yeah. Like I feel like, the path to AI agents, or like agentic AI, as they say, the path to that is to let AI use our computers. Because the idea of, like, the joke I made in my talk today was, people were like, oh my gosh, you mean you want AI to use a Windows desktop? Are you out of your mind? Windows is old and Windows is bloated and we've been trying to kill Windows. And I'm like, yeah, we have been trying to kill Windows for like 30 years.
Yeah.
Like Windows was going to be dead because of Java and HTML and Chrome and like web apps and mobile apps. Like all these things were going to kill Windows. And here it is, about to be 2025, and we still have like millions and millions and millions of like enterprise Windows desktops in the world.
Yeah.
And so my thinking is, if you want AI agents to sort of like start to perform actions that human workers perform, you give the agent the Windows desktop. Like the idea that you're going to sort of set up like some agent that's working in a Docker container in the cloud, and it's going to have a connector into this app and a connector into here, and then you got to build this all new security infrastructure and all new connector infrastructure, and you got to have it's.
Yeah, well, you showed that diagram and with the like hundreds of different connections, and it was just like, it was crazy. It was like, it was off the charts how much complexity was there. Whereas you said, it's all encapsulated in a Windows desktop already. We don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Like the craziness is still there.
Yeah.
Because if you think about like the expense report example, it is going to all these web services and all these brokers and load balancers, and it's going through my security software. It's all there, but it's done because I already have like the expense app, my credit card app, my photos. It's already collected together on the desktop.
Yeah, and what I told you before we started is we do at customers. We tried this AI agents for proof of values or just to fiddle around with it. But the moment if you have Copilot for Microsoft 365, you have a button, it says AI agent, you click on that. That's easy. Then you go to Copilot Studio. That's also easy. Then you have to build a chatbot, and then you have to use Power Automate to make connection. You have to have API, you have to have security in place. Then it gets really complicated really fast. And then everybody is thinking, this shouldn't be this hard. But it really is that hard at the moment.
Yeah, and like, it's kind of like RPAs. Yeah. And all the RPA vendors are now AI agent vendors, which is fine. Like they have a good pathway to go onto that, But really, like my whole thing, the whole point of my talk and stuff, it was, I'm not saying this is right around the corner, because cloud computer use is a great example. People can go to YouTube and type in cloud computer use demo, and there's all these demos online. It's like very, like, it makes mistakes. It's kind of dumb. It's like the older versions of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And everyone, they have this litmus test with ChatGPT, like, where they ask us some like crazy PhD question, like, it got that wrong. And I'm like, well, most humans get it wrong too.
Yeah,
we don't have to be like,
we're the ones training these things. So, there's going to be imperfections within it.
Yeah. So, and like, especially if you want to like crawl, walk, run, we already have existing infrastructure for all of our human users to do all their jobs. All of us have some tasks that are like simple and AI can do. Like my expense report example, maybe an AI agent can do that today. Maybe that's going to be in 3 or 6 months. I kind of feel like that's going to be an AI agent is going to be able to make my expense report way sooner than it's able to create a PowerPoint presentation for me.
Yeah.
And for me, that's great. If I could have it do like the low-hanging fruit, I can take all the tasks I do in my job. Let's say there's 200 of them. Can you do like the 2 easiest ones today? That's great. I only have 198 to do. And people are like, well, I don't need AI for that. I'm like, yeah, I don't need AI to do my expense reports either.
No.
But it's going to do 2 today. It's going to be 3 next month. It's going to be 5 the month after that. It's going to chink, 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 chink.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I have like 4 or 5 extra hours in a week.
Yeah.
Where I can do more work. I can do less work. I can do deeper work. I can sleep.
And what you said in your presentation, you also said, well, okay, it's not working as good now, but drip, drip, drip. It's going to suck less.
Yeah.
It's going to keep improving. And in 6 months, we don't know how good it's going to get, because the AI development is not going like this. It's going.
Yeah. Well, Ethan Mollick always says you're using the worst AI in the world at the moment. So, we've no idea of what 6 months. We don't know 6 months because, we've shown several times on this podcast, we stopped doing a news section because there's just too much. Yeah. It was just ridiculous.
Well, it's funny too, because also, again, it's exponentially increasing, and we have like these crazy high expectations. Like, I'm sure all of the three of us are not median employees. We're like above the median, right?
Mhm.
Which means the average employee is like dumber than us or worse than us. So if the AI is dumber than us, it's like, hey, half the people in the world are dumber than me. I mean, by this, probably all of our listeners are above average, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the old thing they talk about with cars, where they're like, a self-driving car does not have to be better than the best human driver. A self-driving car has to be better than the worst human driver. And the same with the AI agents. Like, we've all had some employees that just, like, it just has to be better than my worst employee, not better than my best employee to provide me value.
That's an interesting one about the self-driving cars, because I've read some things about it, and I've seen examples, and it doesn't work. But it actually, the use case I've seen is where it actually has to be as irrational as a human being to work properly, because we do irrational things in cars. How many times have you been in your car and go, "What the?"
Yeah.
Did they just do?
Like if 4 cars pull a four-way stop at the same time, they just freeze.
Yeah.
Because like they're all too polite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which AI has the biggest cojones?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
I'll drive first.
X.AI. But yeah, it's the same with our workers. I mean, and this is, I'm looking at this from a technology standpoint. There's a lot of moral, ethical issues, the future, meaningfulness, all that. Like, hey, that's all important. Not like way above our pay grade, as they say. I'm just saying that, like, people are talking about AI agents entering the workforce and really starting to impact white collar knowledge workers. And to me, this is in my mind, I'm so positive of this, because what people don't appreciate is, like, companies are nonsensically organized today. Like, probably if you really were hyper efficient in everything in the company, every company on planet Earth probably only needs like 10% of their actual employees. It's just all of the humanity and all the overhead and inefficiencies and everything, and
all the meetings.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, okay, perfect example. I don't think I said this with you guys before, but like, there's this idea, like when the Microsoft CEO of AI was talking about Teams and the Copilot in Teams, he was saying, like, this is great, I can attend 3 meetings at once. And people are like, that's an outrage. You need to look at meeting culture, and AI needs to create a better organization that isn't about meetings and doesn't require you to. I'm like, whoa, man, kumbaya, dude. I get it. I get it. I'm on board. Like, of course, that'd be fantastic. But like, that's not the world that we live in today.
World we currently live.
Today, I just need to attend 3 meetings at the same time.
Those are all important and all need.
Yes, like for whatever reasons, the organization, my company, whatever. So it's the same thing. It's like everything in the desk, because the desktop is not just about the applications and the way that they interact. It's the way that we audit ourselves. It's all the guardrails we put in place. It's the DLP. It's the firewall. It's the malware detection. Because if you make native AI agents that run natively in the cloud, well, how does your malware detect in that? How does your DLP? I mean, cloud-based DLP, cloud-based malware, all these a billion other things. Like, or I already have that on my desktop today. Desktops are cheap. What's a desktop cost to run? Like a couple $100 a month by the time you add Microsoft licensing, VDI, cloud hosting. Like your cheapest employee is a few thousand a month. I mean, desktops are way cheaper. When people are like, all the overhead, like, I don't want all the overhead of a desktop. I'm like, I don't want all the overhead of a human.
Oh, those are more complex.
I'll take 2 desktops with no humans. I hope my company has 1,000 employees and 10,000 VDIs. You're welcome, Citrix and Omnissa and Microsoft. Microsoft is just like someone just has exploded.
Right now. And the funny part is how we're going to do about licensing with non-human users.
That's
is that a seed or not?
When you said that, I was just like, oh my god, like how are they going to deal with that? Like AI agents running on VDIs and non-human users, like what's going to happen there?
Yeah, I tried to actually look into this, because it's just not, as a concept, it doesn't exist. Because is it like your use, is it home use license? Is it because one human user is able to have multiple VMs, and then like if I have an agent and it logs on itself, does it go down to user ID? Because like maybe I want my AI agent to log on as me as a user ID
because of credential.
But maybe I want it to be, maybe they have an OU that's separate and has more. Like I'm probably going to create user accounts for AIs. It's like there's a lot for us to figure out. Whoever cracks this, I'm telling you, there's really something here. And is this Microsoft? Is this Citrix? Is this Omnissa? Is this a never heard of a company? I don't know, but like there's a lot to do here, and I just am so convinced it's the way it's going. I really, really believe it.
So first top tip of today, if you are into licensing, Fixed non-human licensing.
There you go.
Non-human license, the NULA user license.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh wow! This is going to be
It's going to be a little bit of a headache.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So, and Brian, when you're looking back at this year, there's a little bit also a year in review, looking forward to AI agent being one of the really big things for next year. And if you look at this year, is there something that stood out for you, saying that was a pivoting moment in 2024?
That's a great question, and it's amazing. ChatGPT has been publicly released for less than 2 years still.
Yeah,
it's not even November 30th yet. Like under 2 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's
and it changes.
Crazy.
Like, I think for me, a few things happened this year. Obviously, AI agents. Like, that's really just in the past couple months. They started really hit it hard. I think the other thing that I realized is I was definitely one of the ones who was waiting for ChatGPT 5, for ChatGPT 6. I'm like, 1 to 2 to 3 to 4.
Yeah,
went from like whatever preschool kid to high school to college to grad students.
Yeah,
and I think I'm realizing that the foundational models, like there's a lot they can do to change the way they work. Like they can change all these tweaks under the hood that don't change the core model, but change like the context.
Yeah, well, they brought in things like multimodal because we now can do voice on desktop. I see. And
reasoning.
We
just think a little bit more about
the canvas, which is the kind of the interactive one. So they've tweaked it, as you said. We haven't had a jump with the model, but we've tweaked the way we can use it and utilize it, and it's definitely a better user experience.
It's just like how, like in the old days of processors, we just like put more CPU, or pardon me, more megahertz, right, and just made it go faster. And then we had like larger address spaces. Then we had like coprocessors, and now then we got to multiple cores and multiple types and so it's like you start expanding up, and there's still a lot of growth to go up in like these core models, but also like you start going out, and like the way you solve things is different. And great examples like the reasoning multi-step thinking models, the native voice interface. I live in Paris, so I'm learning French now, and so to be able to speak and have it not translate my words into text and send that into the model, but actually I can speak French and it can listen to my accents. I can tell it to speak with a Parisian accent, which is like faster. Because I have a hard time understanding French. I've been doing classes, and so like it's a lot of I can read and write because I can like see it in slow motion, but I just need practice talking. And I use AI for that. So like all these ways that they're like expanding and growing to me was a big thing this year, I think. And recognizing that like this really is like we're not seeing model collapse, we're not seeing end of scaling laws. It's just going in a million directions and a million dimensions all at the same time, and it's just, I mean, more progress has been made from what I can tell this past year than it was 2 years ago, and I'm guessing more progress is going to be made next year.
It seems also like we're entering the stage where it's going to be Microsoft has backed ChatGPT, and Anthropic just signed a $4 billion deal with Amazon, so it's going to be Amazon versus Microsoft in 2025 by the looks of it.
Perhaps Google.
And Google are there. But I've used Gemini. Gemini's good, but it's not center stage like ChatGPT or even Claude. Like Claude came out of nowhere.
But it's like everything. It's like that's like looking at like performance specs. What CPU is best, and then you don't build a VDI based on like, well, the Xeon 12 core got a. It's like, look at this. It's got this much higher because it's about implementation. I mean, Google's models like Notebook LM. I use all the time. I use Notebook LM before they added the voice podcast creation thing. The podcast creation thing is just mind blowing. I use it all the time, and so it's like the models are always changing, they're always evolving. It almost doesn't matter what, like if this model's better, that model's better. It's gonna be like the applications, the packaging of it, how it integrates.
It depends on your use case as well, doesn't it? Because like some of them are more suited for one thing and then the other. So
it depends on your use case inside your company or what you want to do privately with it. So the one model might fit. It's the same with cars. We have a lot of cars. They all do the same, but still we all drive.
And I'm not buying the fastest car based on horsepower.
No,
because my butt hurts and there's no cup holders.
Exactly. So all the models are good in their own way.
Yeah, and there's like so many models coming out and being tweaked and tuned and re-released. One of the things that's interesting, you mentioned Ethan Malik. He's like, if you follow one person on AI, follow him. Don't follow us.
I'm currently I'm halfway through reading his book Co-Intelligence. It's absolutely brilliant. I recommend everyone go and read it.
Yeah, and it's like, he talks about, like, what's really interesting with it, with like the way AI is progressing also, is the open source models are like almost as good as the foundational models that come from the big vendors. And you can run an open source model on a GPU that you can put in a regular kind of desktop computer. Lights on.
AI not working yet. No.
But like, I think about when Google first came out for search.
Yeah.
If you didn't like Google, you can't like roll your own search engine.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's just, you can't. But the models you get on your own, and a $3,000 or $4,000 GPU, which is, it's a lot of money, but I mean, it's only like, it's not that much. Like, for $5,000, you can have a box
that does a lot of stuff.
That is basically unrestrained, really darn close to what like the leading models are doing with like OpenAI. And you can have it on your own.
Yeah.
You can customize it. You can have like no guardrails, whatever you want to do. So you can really do these things on your own. And it's interesting because that means that the big models have a different like level of service they have to provide. Because if Google gets like all ad-filled garbage and you don't like it, well, you have to go to another provider that probably is going to be ad-filled garbage also. But here, like, people, you can host it yourself, someone else can host it. I mean, it really is empowering that a lot of these core technologies you can truly do on your own in your basement.
And the other thing is, you said a $5,000 GPU, but if you run an Apple MacBook M2, M3, you can run fairly complex models on your laptop.
Yeah,
you can take it with you.
Yeah, that's so like, I use a MacBook Air M1 like from 3 or 4 years ago, so I'm kind of like in the market for a new laptop. All the M4 ones just came out now, and you can load up one of these laptops and it costs like $8,000, which seems crazy, but like, I probably would spend $3,000 on a laptop.
Yeah,
is an extra $3,000 enough to let me run these models locally? Like, am I buying like another $3,000, like almost what NVIDIA level GPUs into the MacBook? So now a $6,000 or $7,000 MacBook, like, I can kind of justify that as like running it. And the models are also getting cheaper. This is another crazy thing. It's like the cost is just diving down. Like, if you look at how many, so the tokens are getting smarter, like what they can do with how good the quality of tokens that come out is getting better, but also the price. I mean, they're down to like I think OpenAI's APIs are 1/100th of what they were 2 years ago when they first were selling those. For like the cost per token.
Sure.
So it's just getting like, and that also means, by the way, that these models are getting better. You can run them cheaper on your own stuff. So your $5,000 MacBook, can run bigger and bigger, more advanced models, because those models are also becoming more optimized for the hardware and everything.
And that's something that I foresee as a trend for next year, that the democratization of AI.
Democratization.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not an English native speaker, so that sometimes gets a little bit complicated. But see that AI also is getting more on the edge, more into the devices. Apple Intelligence and what you also said in your session, it's gonna come in different places, and it's gonna help us. But this democratization is gonna open up to even more people, so it will become even more cheap to run. Because the law of many people using it will do something with the price per unit.
I think you mentioned Apple Intelligence. I'm an Apple fan. I cannot believe how horrible the rollout of Apple Intelligence has been.
Oh, you can?
The MacBook M1, you can have it on it.
Okay.
Well,
you need to have it in the American language, and then you can run it.
You have to jailbreak. You can't run it natively in Europe, obviously, because due to AI regulation.
Well, they're getting better though, because like for example, OpenAI's advanced voice mode is now available in Europe.
Yes,
because they run a different model that doesn't detect mood. Basically, was what it was breaking. Was what was not allowed before.
Sure.
And where I'm kind of going with this is, like, right now, if you look at all the examples online, Apple Intelligence is like comically awful. But we all know what we want. Like, we all know the Siri sorry I said that word to all the users out there now, but like I know what I wanted to do, like, and right now using like these voice assistants is so bad. And so I think we're going to see these things like just kind of get better.
Yeah.
Like how many times have you yelled at your digital assistant, like, "Oh my God, be better!" Like, how do you not understand what I'm saying to you? I cannot. It's like, let me try that in another way. I'm like, I just asked what the Guardian score was.
Yeah.
Like, what do you like? And so I think it is nice that we're going to see like AI kind of more seamlessly.
Yeah, I have 2 kids, and it's well known voice assistants struggle with children's voices and that kind of thing. So that's going to obviously change because they struggle with talking to it because obviously their speech is not as clear as adults. So yeah, I can see that changing.
I struggle because all my stuff is in French,
and
I'm learning French, but I don't speak that like quickly yet. And so as I'm kind of stumbling through with Siri, you pause for like 2 seconds, and it like takes your half nonsense sentence as a command. And I'm like, you can't figure out I'm still talking? Like, come on. I want you to. And it's like, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're asking me.
Like, I know, I wasn't done.
Yeah. As we've said, what we've got now is the worst AI models we're going to have ever. So, you know, the future is bright with these things.
Bright and incredibly fast.
Yes, indeed.
The other thing, you know, the topic that we talked about when I was on the show last time was all about workplace AI.
Yes.
And which, you know, is like how I'm talking about. I use that term to describe when individual workers bring AI into the office. And I have to say, one of my things looking back on this year, I am really kind of blown away by how many of my friends are using AI at work, like on the download that the companies don't know about.
Oh, shadow AI.
Yeah. I'm not talking about you nerds. I mean, like non-tech friends, my partner's friends, her friends, like people in our lives, like using AI.
I just introduced it. My wife is a historian, so she's got photos of texts from books that she can't take out of the library, and she's been looking at, and I think Claude has just got a new use case where it can actually scan the photos for text and output it. So that would save her having a researcher sitting for days upon days transcribing that. So that's a use case I would have never thought of because,
but it's a monumental use case.
Absolutely,
yeah. But I use ChatGPT. It's kind of funny. So I used to use sort of like everything. I've really consolidated on ChatGPT, and I guess the Google things. But like I even stopped paying for Perplexity now that ChatGPT can search the web, and I stopped paying for Claude. But I use it 100 times a day, and it can be like, to your point, like Paris flea markets. You're buying like like there's a €1 each, like boxes full of postcards, like the 1800s. With, like there's like messages written on them, and, like photo. What's this say? Because it's written in like crazy old language in French, and like like tells me in English. Unreal.
I really can see the advances, and as I said, it's not just with tech; it's with every facet of life that these things are coming at, and it's going to change so much things. One use case I have is my daughter has some learning difficulties, and I can see her really being able to use it because she can talk to it. You know, she's really good at talking, but not so good at writing. So I can see that having a huge impact for kids in education. Like,
it's interesting too. Is like there's a lot of people that are still talking about how, you know, the progress is going to hit roadblocks with scaling and improvements and all that kind of stuff. I'm no AI scientist. I can't have an. I mean, from what I listen to, it seems like humans are going to figure out how to get better and better. And I don't know if that's really a big problem, but let's say it is even. If all AI advancement stops today, everything that exists so far, we have like the next 5 or 10 years worth of work for us to do.
Sam Altman has even said this. He said, like, if it stopped today, like, you know, you would still have so much, but it's not going to stop today. But you're right.
Before you can squeeze every drop of liquid out of the possibilities we have now, we have a lot of.
I mean, I look at how I'm telling you, I'm using this 100 times a day. Everything I do.
I love the fact that it's on my phone. It's so easy to. I just have the app on my phone,
Yeah.
and if I have a thought and I want to kind of expand on that, I could be just sitting somewhere and I just let it go off. I think I asked it the other day was to summarize all the announcements from Microsoft Ignite, and it just said Copilot, and a bit more Copilot.
I want the reason why I kind of want a new phone. Mine has like the volume like mute switch. It's like a physical slider switch.
Yeah.
But the new one's it's a button that's programmable.
Yeah.
And so I want a button that I just have set to Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Because it does everything. Because I have like I do voice memos. I tell it to set alarms. I tell it to do like all these like I ask it things. I remember this idea for presentation. And just the fact you can just tell it like everything.
It becomes your assistant.
Yeah, and then it kind of like can figure out like what goes where, and and this also exists today. And so I feel like there's so much that it can do that companies are just not leveraging.
Yeah. We talked about this previously on another episode, and it's like the problems, and we are seeing it, is like when you bring AI into your environment, it has access to everything, and that has a lot of implications. Like what's the CEO's salary? Bang, up on screen. Because you don't have the right data controls in place, and I think Gerjon has seen it quite a lot on some of the projects he's implemented, and I think Mark Benioff has been going off, but he has alternative. He's because of his company, but he was going on. He was citing an example like that where someone just put in something and they were able to see the CEOs. But that's, as you said, if you're in an environment where you already have data classification, data security, access controls, then you shouldn't have those issues. But it's for organizations who haven't done this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
where
it's the first hurdle you run against.
Yeah,
and having those experiences inside a company does really hurt bringing in more AI. And it's also what you said. It's you can for the next 2 years you can just say it doesn't exist. It's not my problem, and I can do my job. But then there's a moment that you have to do to be as a company to keep being competitive in the market, and as a person to be competitive in your work to keep a job.
Yeah. There's it's sort of it goes back to the cloud or virtualization. I mean, there's always like crusty curmudgeons who are like, nah, I don't want to do the cloud. Like, it's all just like a mainframe. It's all the same. Microsoft, nah. Like, okay, that's fine. But, if you just did not in any way acknowledge the cloud, you're really boxing yourself in kind of career-wise. And, a lot of the stuff I'm writing about, it happens with politics, all these things. We're not in charge.
No.
We're not.
No.
Collectively, sure, humans can do things, and you are not. AI is coming. We're going to start using it for work.
Yeah.
It's going to do all sorts of crazy things. It doesn't matter what AI does not care about what your opinion of it is.
No.
And it's so you can either pay attention, or you can ignore it. And you just have to look at your time horizon and your career horizon. I think I've got another 20 years of working in front of me. So I think I better figure out something about AI because I don't.
We have to work a little too long to just.
And just to not be behind. And it's the problems are going to get solved. I mean, the problem you mentioned about giving AI access to corporate data and then there's no real guardrails. This is not a new problem. Microsoft delved into the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Once I learned at VMware actually about an upcoming acquisition we were doing because someone higher up emailed me and Outlook so helpfully was like, oh, here's other documents that this person has been working on. Technically, I have permission to. And I was like, oh, cool. I see our whole plan for how we're gonna buy this company. And I'm like,
onto the stock market. Not, of course.
I can't imagine.
That's not good.
No, I was not buying any VMware stock or selling VMware stock in the private market or in the public market. But it's just.
These are problems that have always existed, but I think AI has just amplified them.
Yeah. It's funny when you go to AI conferences like World AI Forum, half the vendors there are enterprise search, because this hasn't been solved.
No.
Like you can't really do it with RAG because RAG doesn't,
just in case anyone, do you want to explain what RAG is?
RAG is retrieval augmented generation, which is basically like in your context window, you say like you feed a bunch of documents like into your conversation and then ask it questions about the documents. So it's really good for like retrieving facts out of those documents. But this is not changing the neural connectivity of the model itself. No. So when you do RAG, you need a model that already thinks and you're giving it more data to use to like give answers to, but you can't like change the way it thinks. To change the way it thinks, you have to actually like train the model. And that's what you can do with fine tuning and things like that. But fine tuning is like disk layering. If you fine tune, you're like adding and changing neurons. But if you update the base model, your like layer is invalidated now, so you have to do it again. So fine tuning is like expensive and slow, and these models are changing every 6 weeks. And by the time you get it fine, whatever. But the fantasy of what we really want, which is just like point it to my data and like tell me what to do now, does not exist.
No,
and that problem is not going to be solved soon. It doesn't seem to be. But there's also other things we can do. Like a lot of people with AI, it's like going back to the self-driving cars, where it's like, well, I have this example of what I want to do it for, and until it can do that, it's garbage and I don't care about it. I'm like, that's fine. That's like saying I want to be like a world's best pianist, and I'm not going to like play anything until I get the best at everything. Like you got to get there. I mean,
give it time and practice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so cool. So this concludes, I think, our last episode of 2024.
Wait, can I like ask you guys a question?
Go on.
Like, what's our predictions? Do you want to do predictions, or do you do that next show? Like, do you have predictions for next year?
Oh, next year. I think, as we've said, I think AI agents are going to be. We're doing a presentation later on, and one of the questions at the end is this year, was 2024 the year of AI? And my answer is no, it's 2025, because that's when AI agents come into fruition. So that's for me where we're going to see things get interesting.
Yeah, and I can see the mass rollout of AI and more. We had an interesting talk with Jits from NVIDIA, who was talking the next big thing is going to be physical AI. So AI doing stuff for us, embedded in devices. The Roomba Robot 6.0, that's going to really help us do stuff. So when next time you go into an all you can eat, you can have a wok robot, not a wok chef, but a robot.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious to see what that will be in a year. So AI agents is something I can see the mass rollout of AI in all. Do you say to everyone in the workforce or at home, to my parents and the children more and I'm really curious to see how the physical AI is going to be. What that's going to be. We can see the Amazon robots that are doing the things in the logistics warehouse, and what the next step is going to be in that. So I'm hoping for a big step next year.
I like that a lot. I'm definitely a robot nerd.
Same here.
And the Tesla Omni robots, which are like those are rolling out more slowly, but I mean they have like 20 dexterities in their fingers, and if you go on YouTube, you can like just search for like robots in China or something. There's like these like robot expos, and there's like videos of like robots working in factories now and like lifting things, and everyone's seen the ones where they can do like flips and cartwheels, but the idea you can use an LLM to like train robot, like multimodal LLM, so the robot can like do a task like pick up this pencil and put it in the glass, like things
we've all seen the Boston Dynamics videos, like. Those scare me.
Oh my god,
they really scare me.
Oh, I don't understand why people are like, well, just don't put a machine gun on the dog. And I'm like, they put machine guns on drones. What's the difference? Like, you get legs and all of a sudden it's more scary. Like, it's all scary.
Yeah. It's like when it could jump up and it's no, that's just
like hold lift the heavy toolbox and then throw it up over here.
Oh yeah, no. That's I just see a Boston Dynamics on any kind of social media. No, I don't need to.
But it's real. I mean, it's like this is happening though. Like it's crazy that even if these home sort of robots are still a ways away, I mean, it's looking like there's lots of robots you can buy that like look like human form. They walk around. They can lift 50 pounds. You can buy these robots for like under $50,000. There's ones now folding laundry and emptying the dishwasher, which is the things that we want to do. And
especially laundry. Oh my god!
I mean, I think
we have 2 adults, and 2 kids in our house. Like the laundry is out of control. It's probably similar in your house as well. Yeah. So if someone could do that, absolutely.
Well, I saw it online. There is a robot that can do that.
You've got that in our prison. Yes.
Yeah, and they're they're slow, but like let them work all night. I don't care.
Yeah.
As long as they don't wake me up.
Yeah.
I mean,
they can fold it, put it in the drawers in everyone's rooms. Like that saves so many arguments in our household alone.
It's happening. I think in our lifetimes there will be like home humanoid assistants that kind of like do our stuff.
Yeah.
Which is pretty wild. So yeah, it's really, for me, this is an exciting time, and like most of my work is thinking about this through the lens of end user computing.
Yeah.
How do we protect? How do we enable? What's an organization look like? I've never been so unsure of the future while being so excited about the future.
Eager about what's going to happen.
Yeah. I think excited and apprehensive at the very same time, and it changes. So sometimes I get more apprehensive, sometimes I get more excited, and it's constant.
Yeah. So with that, that's our wrap up of 2024. Everyone, thank you for watching and being a member of our little community and helping us, giving us tips and tricks. If you want to be a part of this show, you want to come on sometime, please give us an email. Find us. Thanks, Brian, for being here again.
Yeah.
We hope to have you again next year, perhaps in 6 months, so we can evaluate the 6-month period that we're and seeing how AI agents are doing in the field.
I like it. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, cool.
So thanks all, and see you next year.
Yep.